Welcome, 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 my beloved soul family, my friends who are joining from near and far. So honored you're here. I'm so excited for today's episode. So I think I've said this before. I had the beautiful pleasure and privilege of getting to have a little conversation before we're recording. And I always know it's going to be a wonderful time when my cheeks are hurting already. So they're already hurting. So that's telling me that smiling and connection, seriously, the sides of my cheeks hurt. So that's a good sign. So excited to introduce you today to Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. I'm going to tell you all about her, and then you're going to get to hear from yourself, and you're going to learn so much. As always, I want to remind you, I'm taking the notes. You don't have to. There will be some show notes that you can download. Also, there's a transcription, and you can find us not just where you get your podcast, but also on YouTube, where you can watch this. If you're a visual person, you can listen. So happy you're here. Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor is a Harvard-trained and published neuroanatomist. In 1996, she experienced a severe hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of her brain, causing her to lose the ability to walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of her life. Her memoir, My Stroke of Insight, documenting her experience with stroke and 8-year recovery, spent 63 weeks on the New York Times nonfiction bestseller list and is still routinely the #1 book about stroke on Amazon. Dr. Taylor is a dynamic teacher and public speaker who loves educating all age groups, academic levels, as well as corporations about the beauty of our human brain, yay, and its ability to recover from trauma. In 2008, she gave the first TED Talk that ever went viral on the internet, which has well over 26 million views. Also in 2008, Dr. Taylor was chosen as one of Times Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, and was the premier guest on Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Series webcast. And we're going to be talking today about her new book, Whole Brain Living. I am so excited to have you here, Dr. Jill. Thank you for spending your time and sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today.
Thank you, Julie. I'm so excited. I think I'm just excited. I'm excited because I can tell when I meet somebody who's energetic just matches mine. So thank you.
Yeah, it's like jumping out of I'm like, woo, I feel like let's get in. There's so much to talk about. I mean, so I was joking with you before we started. We were talking a little bit about your book and what we're going to get into. And I was like, my mind is glowing, because I don't like to say mind blown. And you said, well, that happened already. And I'm like, we don't need that. So it's glowing. If you're listening, I'm going to guess you're going to be glowing at the end of this, because lots of energy. So I guess, one of the things in terms of this whole brain living and just really talking about what you've been researching, what you're teaching, is how does this whole brain living and what is it, and how does it fit in a generalized idea that we only use 10% of our brain? We'll just start there to kind of get the playing field. And then I have like 1,000 more questions.
So there are two myths that we're going to bust right now. And one is that we use 10% of our brain. The way neurons are like people. They're very social creatures. They live inside of a network. They stimulate by, they're just, effusive. And when they get locked out of the network, they curl up into a little ball and they tend to die. And just like people do. So if it's alive and it's in your brain, you're using it. Now, we might only know and understand, and that's not even true. We understand quite a bit about what these cells are doing inside of our brain. So I'm going to say you're already using your brain. Now, the other myth is that we have been taught that the right brain is our emotional brain, and our left brain is our rational brain. And although it is true that our left thinking tissue is our rational brain, our emotional system is evenly divided in the two hemispheres. All right. So what that means is that we have two amygdala, and most people have heard these terms, two amygdala, two hippocampi, and two anterior cingulate gyri making up those emotional systems. All right. Now, the thing about the right hemisphere is it's right here, right now. present moment experience. So it has emotions of the present moment, and it has a thinking tissue in the present moment. The left brain is the machine that takes us into the past and can project us into the future. So we have the left emotional tissue is all our emotions from the past. All of our trauma, all of our pain. It's also our addiction and our craving tissue. And then we also have in the left thinking portion of our brain, all of our thoughts and memories and understanding about the past and the ability to think across time and project into the future. So we have these two very different machines inside of our head, and each of them have their emotional and they each have their thinking. And those are actually four very specific anatomically separate modules of cells.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Can I rewind for a sec? Because I'm like, I did not seriously. I did like a basic mind body. I'm almost embarrassed to say this because this is your like specialty, but
why I'm here. Go right.
Yeah, I mean, I did a mind body science class. We learned about the brain a little, but I did not know there are two amygdala.
Yes. See, that's why I wrote this book, Julie. That is why. I was giving a presentation a few years ago and I said, well, I love talking about the brain right now because people like to learn about their brain and they know the language like the amygdala and the hippocampus. But the fact of the matter is we have two amygdala, and there was an audible gasp in the room. Like, I didn't know that. And it was like, well, no wonder people don't understand. They have two separate emotional systems. So nothing makes sense. How can you have conflicting emotions if all you have is one emotional module of cells? That makes no sense, right? Wow. But if you have two now, all of a sudden, they're in relationship with one another. And one is of the past and one is of the present. And those are completely different experiences and emotional processing.
Whoa. Okay. I mean, mind is glowing. I'm trying like,
we're glowing.
Well, even the way, I mean, you look up the brain, I mean, all of the things, on the internet, which I know is not the place to learn everything, but it's never said there are two of each. And I'm really thinking about this. So there's one of each in each of the hemispheres, basically. Exactly. Whoa.
Exactly.
Okay. That alone, everybody take a moment and pause. Yes. That's groundbreaking. I did not know that. And that does change. I mean, now I'm like, all right, let's talk.
Exactly.
Can I ask actually, because I have struggled in the past with addiction. Mine was in the realm of food. I know many of my listeners have struggled with different kinds of addiction. And you mentioned something about addiction and craving. That's more in the left hemisphere. Mm-hmm. Maybe if we have time to get to that, like how does that play into this? But it's interesting.
So the new book is called Whole Brain Living.
Right.
Okay. And the whole brain are the two thinking brains, modules of cells, and the two emotional modules of cells.
Right.
The subtitle is The Anatomy of Choice. Imagine that. The anatomy of choice and the four characters that drive our life. So let's talk about the four characters that drive our life, because that, when I ended that TED Talk that you saw, I said to you, I ended it with, we have the power to choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And I had over 300,000 people write to me and say, how do I do that? And I had to think about it because I lost my left brain and became the right brain. And then I had to rebuild the left brain. But then everybody's asking me, how do I get from the left brain into the right brain? And I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought about it. And I didn't know how to communicate it until I told that audience, we have two amygdala, and they gasped. And then I realized They don't understand we have two thinking brains and two emotional brains, and that's whole brain living. So I want to take you through those four characters.
Yes, please.
And then we'll talk about the communication between those different characters inside of our brain. And how, oh my gosh, now I understand my four characters, and I understand the four characters in every other human being. And now I understand that how my characters line up with their characters as a match or as a miss. It's powerful.
Okay. All right. Let's go into the four characters immediately. I'm like, right now I need to know. Okay. What are they?
Character, if you take a brain and it's looking at you, right? Like my brain is looking at you.
Right.
And you cut the corpus callosum and you spread them apart like two wings. Okay. So then you have left thinking tissue is character one.
Okay.
Left emotion tissue is character two. Okay. Right emotion character is number three. And right thinking tissue is character four. Okay. So those are literally different groups of cells in your brain. Okay. Character number one, left thinking. This is our rational thinking brain.
Okay.
It is all about the external world. It likes to organize it. It categorizes. It thinks in language. It likes to control people, places, and things, right? This is our type A character. It thinks quickly using language. So it likes to make lists, and it likes to be the boss. It defines what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad. It defines the structure of our life. Okay. That's character one. Do you recognize that part of yourself, Julie?
Oh, I'm like, how many lists? I was like, whoa. And I definitely identify as type A plus. So not just type A. I was like type A plus. So I'm like, oh, I really, really identify here right now.
I love that. Now, character one makes judgment, but it's critically analyzing information and data. It's not that negative, mean judgment. Okay. It's making critical analysis and discriminating smaller and smaller details. It's defining. It's a fantastic tool that we use to organize our world.
Okay. Makes sense.
Now, it's non-emotional. By definition, it is thinking tissue.
Okay.
All right. So it's a wonderful tool. Now, I have named all my characters. I encourage everybody to name your characters so that they gain an identity, so that you're actually talking about your own characters and they can relate to one another.
Love it. Do you name them like
I have
like Amy?
Yeah, I've named my character one Helen. She's hell on wheels. She gets it done.
I love it.
Okay, so I encourage you to name your character one, Julie.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, Helen's actually, can I take your name? Because my journalism teacher, who was really tough, was Helen. I'm like, that is yep, Helen. Mine's Helen too. I'm taking it.
Hell on wheels, I get it done.
I've got Helen.
Character number two.
Okay.
Is all the emotion of the past. Now, how do we even get a past? How does our brain, which is this magnificent thing processing billions and trillions of bits of data in every moment, how does it come up with a past? And it comes up with a past because these little cells in our character two were willing to step out of the present moment, which is where bliss and euphoria and God and infinite being and no boundary is. It was willing to step out of that blissful euphoria so that it could save our life. And those cells were designed to take whatever's happening in the present moment and compare it to anything we ever experienced in the past to save our life.
Wow.
We owe an incredible sense of gratitude to that group of cells. In that emotional tissue is the amygdala and the hippocampus and the limbic cells of our past emotion. Okay. So that means that is our fight or flight. So for example, let's say when I was young, I had a terrible experience with a dog that was a certain breed. It bit me, all right? Or it tried to bite me while I was riding my bike. So now every time I see a dog, those groups of cells go back in time and say, that kind of a dog was a major threat. And so I'm going to push away from that and say no. Okay. Right. So that's what that little group of cells does. It says, give me a reason to say no, that's dangerous and a threat to me. And so it's going to act out, and it's going to blame, and it's going to name call, and it's going to be unhappy, and it's going to rage, and it's going to self-loathe, and it's going to all those negative emotions that come from our past. It is our guilt from our past. It is resentment from something's happened before. It is how I shame myself by something I did in the past. It's all that to save our lives.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So now all of a sudden, this little character, I call my Abby. Abby is short for abandoned, because the moment I came flying out of my mother's womb, all of a sudden I left this enormous, warm, wet, beautiful heartbeat, symbiotic connection to all that I had been for 9 months. And during that 9 months of development in my mother's womb, we multiplied at a rate of 250,000 new cells per second. So I was a part of this beautiful thing. Bam, I was born. I inhale now oxygen and air instead of being in a liquid environment. It was a physiological traumatic event. And I'm going to call that my original abandonment.
Wow.
And then every other piece of unhappy abandonment, give me a reason to push away, gets built inside of that little character to emotional tissue.
Amazing. I just came up with my name. Do you want to hear it?
Please.
Dr. Jill. I'm listening and I'm like, who's the name? Well, I was like, what is this? It could be a lot of things. I'm like, in a way, I came up with Randy because I ran away. I had to leave, and there was rage. There's upset. And so ran away, Randy. So she's going to be Randy. I have Helen and Randy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's it, it's a character. Know that part of you. When you get in that mode, in that character, what it feels like in your body, where it is held in your body, your voice changes, probably get louder, or you want to run away. It is fight or flight. This character is designed to save our lives. And how many of us go to therapy in order to fix that poor little character, or to just cut it out? And it's like, no, that little character is the original wound that allows us to have a sacred past and a sacred future. It gives us temporality across time. It is our bridge across time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Character number 3. You got really something you need to say to me?
I was just going to say, I just was hanging with Randy this weekend, and I got to be honest, it's not fun. It was not so fun. I have not seen her in a long time. I thought maybe it was the full moon. I don't know what's going on, but I was like, what's happening? And I'm like, I love that we've already done 2. I'm going to name the next 2. I'm like, I get it. No, seriously, my husband should come and hang and talk, and he'll vouch for it. He's like, yeah, she was out big time. This is really, I've never heard it ever I'm just,
Clever.
this is really powerful. Okay. So the next number
Okay.
3.
Character number 3 is the emotion in the present moment, because the right brain is right here, right now. And when I lost my left hemisphere, I lost the past and the future, but I was in bliss because this is a perfect moment. I'm alive. So the emotions of the present moment is less like the emotions of the left brain, which have to do with things I'm relating to the external world so much, but it's experiential.
Yeah.
So character 3 is emotional experience. So how does my clothing feel on my skin? What is the temperature of the air? What is the humidity of the air? What is the sunlight as it dances in and dapples my entire environment? What is my experience of the present moment? What am I hearing? I'm hearing birds singing. I even hear a little bit of breeze tapping something on my home. I hear my AC or my furnace. What is my experience of the present moment?
Beautiful.
Now, it's also an adrenaline junkie because I want my present moment experience to be fast and fun and interesting. And it's a collective whole because to my right brain, there's no boundaries of where we begin and where we end. And I love to be with other people. So it's communal, it's tribal. It's exciting. It's enthusiastic. It's creative because it doesn't have that judgment of the left brain saying, no, you have to color inside of the lines. It says, I just want to color and make a mess. It's enthusiastic. And the first step of the creative process is chaos. Yeah. And it's good in chaos. It likes chaos. It doesn't want to schedule. It doesn't want to plan. It doesn't want sequential thinking. It just wants the explosion of right here, right now. So I have named my character 3 Pigpen. You remember, Charles Schulz's Peanuts? You remember the little character who walks around in a dust storm?
Oh my God, that's so good. Yeah.
He's in a mess all the time. No judgment. He's just present and following everybody around and he's happy.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's so true. I just got the image. It's so funny because I'm like, I love living here. This is where one of the areas I love to live. Like what you're saying is just the experiential. What I'm getting is there's, we'll come back to this, but I think of the whole mindfulness movement around meditation and being, we'll get there. I'm like, woo, I know. All right. I think my name for her would be Joy.
Joy. And that is what character 3 is. She is Joy.
I'm like, she's Joy. Yeah. All right. Calling her Joy.
Character number 4 is where you keep pushing yourself toward.
Yeah.
It's the thinking tissue of the right brain. Now, think about this. When you were originally conceived, you were one cell, the zygote cell. The egg DNA from your mother, the sperm DNA from your father comes together as a single cell called the zygote cell. And the zygote has energy inside of it, and it is in an energy field, right? So inside of the cellular construct of your mother's womb. Okay. So the energy of that cell multiplies and divides, multiplies and divides, multiplies and divides because the DNA is multiplying and then the cells are dividing to repackage the new DNA at a rate ultimately of 250,000 new cells per second, right? There is no single consciousness going on. There is the consciousness of the whole, and the consciousness of the whole matches the consciousness of the universe. It's the driving force. It's the energy. It is the consciousness within which that baby body forms, right? So the thinking tissue of that character 4 is that consciousness that connects us to the consciousness of the universe. Now, the right brain has zero judgment, which means it isn't packaged inside of here. How do I know that this face is mine, but these glasses, even though they sit on my face all day, are not me, right? Because there's a group of cells in my left brain that defines the boundaries of where I begin and where I end, and it creates a holographic image, and these glasses are not a part of it because they're inanimate. But that's in the left brain. So the left brain knows that this is me and this is where I begin and end, but my right brain doesn't have that perception. My right brain knows I'm a ball of energy and I'm an organic mass of cells, this magnificent 50 trillion beautiful molecular geniuses, and I'm as big as the universe. So it doesn't matter where you are, your energetic and my energetic are overlapping and entwined with one another, except for that sense in that left brain. Okay, so the consciousness of our God or our infinite being or Allah or whatever you want to call it, we are connected to that through that consciousness of our character 4. Wow. It is an actual anatomical portal, if you will, that allows us to have that experience. So my character 4, she is open, expansive. She loves, she's the consciousness of love. She is nurturing. She is supportive. She absolutely accepts with an A everything as it is. And it is filled with a sense of gratitude that I exist at all. Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm alive. I'm alive, and I have eyes that allow me to see and hands that allow me to manipulate the space around me and legs that carry me, so that I'm not like a tree that is planted. And it's like, this is the, oh my gosh, this is the glow, right? This is the complete brain glow. Oh, yeah. And that's the consciousness of our 4. And so I call mine Queen Toad. And I call her Queen Toad because she is a queen of the universe. We all are. Yeah. We, and if we're men, if you're comfortable with being a queen too, you are. It's the feminine energetic of love, or call yourself king of all that is. But it is a queen and it is a toad because I'm a bit goofy and I live on a boat half a year on my lily pad. Right. So that's unique to me. So you need to give your character, what was your character 3's name?
It was Joy.
Joy. And what is the character of your 4?
All right, I'm playing off of yours. This is so fun. I'm going to call her Queen Lotus.
Beautiful.
Queen Lotus. I was just talking, and I have one I'm looking at, not a real one, but a crystal one, but that we're always opening and folding and unfolding. Yet there's, it grows in the mud, but it's just, Queen Lotus. That was like, that's the name, Queen Lotus.
It's beautiful. And that's exactly, it's the energetic of the lotus. So those characters are anatomically in your brain. So now think about it. Let's say something happens. Someone comes in and says something to me, and I have a choice. Do I respond to first of all, are they in their 1, 2, 3, or 4? Now you can tell. Yeah. You can recognize these different affects of different people. Yeah. And you know who you are. And so you have the power to say in this moment, I call this the brain huddle. Every moment you have the opportunity to say, brain huddle, need a brain huddle, right? Let's say something's happened and you're thinking brain huddle. And so all of your characters are in their huddle and you're going to yourself, what is my next best response for my life to be what I want my life to be? And in that moment, you have the power to choose which of these 4 characters you advance into the world. Character 1 can come online and try to fix a problem. Character 2 can come online and tit for tat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Character 3 can come online and say, let's go play. Character 4 can come online and say, I got you. I love you. I support you. What do you need from me? How do I hear you? You have the power to choose moment by moment who and how you want to be. And it is knowing your own 4 characters that are anatomically. So, and think about this, the 4 characters anatomically from a behavioral perspective are identical to Jungian's 4 archetypes.
Oh, wow.
That's why the 4 archetypes are there, because they're in the anatomy of the brain.
Whoa. Can you overlap them? I don't know if what the 4 are. Okay.
So,
That's super cool.
So character number 1, what are these words? Character number 2 is the shadow.
Shadow. Yeah.
Character number 1, what do they call that? Character number 4 is the true self.
Right.
Character number 3 is the anima or the animus. It has no gender. Or if you're a male, and in this day and age, who knows what's really going on, right? But it's the
Right.
androgyny.
Okay.
Soul. And what do they call the first one? It's our imposter. It's not the self. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
It's all good. We'll look it up. Yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all good.
Yeah. So one of them is conscious, and 3 of them are our subconscious. But in the book, I call it the unconscious because that's what it's referred to as we're looking at the archetypes. Right. Now, so having said that, we spoke about addiction.
Right.
Before we began. So let's talk about the addiction. Craving is in what we call the insular cortex. It's a part of the insular cortex of the emotional system in character 2. So character 2 is where we will crave and we will engage in an addictive behavior. What that means is that if you're going to go through any program for rehabilitation, you can go through as a 1 and jump through all the hoops and make it all look like you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Oh, wow.
Or you can come in and duplicate someone else's character 4 who seems so wise and they've got it together. And yes, I've done everything I need to do. But if your character 2 does not engage in that rehabilitation, it will not stick because you did not have the rehabilitation of the character that is the addictive tissue.
Whoa. Okay. How might you rehabilitate character 2? I hope you don't mind. My brain is now firing, like, I'm going to write some notes because I'm like, whew, I wonder about that. Like, this isn't really fascinating.
So let's talk about, I compare at the end of the book, I take these 4 characters and I say, how do each of the 4 characters relate to our body?
Yeah.
To the character 1, it sees it like a vehicle. It's going to take care of it. It's going to do it what it needs. It's going to treat it like it's a machine. It's going to go do, all the doctor, and it's going to follow the routine because it's good at that, right? Character 2 sees health and the body as this enormously huge thing that it doesn't understand at all. And so it's all bad news. And so it sticks its head in the sand. Mm-hmm. These are the people who have diabetes and they cheat and eat candy. And they hope that there's a character 1 in their life to kind of run the program for them. Okay. Yeah. Character 3s, they're going to be hurting themselves regularly. So they spend a lot of time at like emergency rooms because they just jumped out of an airplane and broke their ankle. And character 4s are going to follow a protocol immediately, but then they're going to shift that to something more natural. Yep. Okay. They're all going to do it differently. Yeah. So we relate it to how do we deal with our own health. And then it takes it to romantic relationships. A character 1 and a character 1, they like each other in a relationship because they're both predictable, right? A character 1 might like a character 3 because it's exciting.
Right.
And the character one is like living for, they're bored to death and they're like all, A++ personality and there's no excitement. And so they fall in love with a 3 and then they get totally exhausted because the 3 is such an adrenaline junkie that they have to like end that relationship. And then they want to find another 1, or they might actually find a 2 who needs them.
Got it.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
So all these details. The next chapter is on addiction. And I compare the 12-step program of AA to the hero's journey.
Okay.
Because it's exactly the same thing inside of the brain. So if you're dealing with an addiction, it's in your character 2. And step number 1 is I have to admit that I am powerless over this addiction and I need help.
Yep.
So my character 2 is essentially saying, I need my 4 to help me.
Yes.
Because 4 is connected to a power that is greater than I am. And it's right there in my right brain. And it's my character who can come in and hold the space for me. And I'm not alone. So on the hero's journey, the exact same thing happens. I have a calling to go on my hero's journey. Something happens in my life and it's like, okay, I'm ready for a change. Yeah. So my character 1 says, okay, I'm going to go on this journey. And I say to my character 2, put your swords down. Mm-hmm. We have to put our ego down and we have to go and we have to face all of our monsters. Because in order to really go on the hero's journey, which means I have to go to my character 4, I have to get out of my left brain and go into my right brain. Well, my ego's in my left brain. Mm-hmm. So the thing about the ego in the left brain is it's part of how I define me. And my left brain defines me with that holographic image of where I begin and where I end. It speaks in language. It gives me a name. It gives me an address. It gives me a phone number. It gives me all the data of the external world. And it's like, oh, Lord, if I'm going to go find God, I've got to drop my ego. Well, that feels like death. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
So I say, well, that's fine, but it's brain tissue. It's right there. It's not going away. You can put it aside for just a few moments, go have a visit with a higher being, go connect to the universe, and then come right back there and you'll find your ego hasn't gone anywhere. Right? It's still there. It's no big deal. Our whole existence is cells having functions.
Yeah.
Get rid of the cells, you get rid of the function, but otherwise we get to pick and choose what we want to be in any moment. It doesn't have to be a big trauma.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be, because we have the power to choose. And at any moment in time, I can go out and I can stomp in a mud puddle, or I can crawl down into the ravine and go play in the creek and look for geodes. And I can like bring my mind to the present moment, which is not where my ego is. My ego's in the past and in the future and in my fear.
Yeah.
We have this incredible power, moment by moment. Just like that, you can choose to go jump in your 3 or go jump in your 4. Or you can jump into your 1, or you can jump into what you were doing this weekend.
Right. No, thank you.
Now, here's your power. From the moment you think a thought, it stimulates an emotional circuit. So let's say I'm going to think a thought about a person who did me wrong 20 years ago. Right.
That's step 4 in the 12 steps. That's called where we do our resentment list. I'm in it right now. I'm like,
exactly. We do it over and over and over. Don't we?
Yeah.
We have to, right? Because they keep showing up. But it's circuitry. And that's what keeps showing up. It's circuitry in your brain. Yeah. So I think a thought about a person, 20 years ago who did me wrong. It stimulates the emotional loop, reminding me that that person made me really angry. And so I then run a physiological response to what I'm thinking and I'm feeling. So if I'm angry, it'll be noradrenaline gets dumped into my bloodstream. It floods through my body. It flushes completely out of my blood in less than 90 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Than 90 seconds. I call this the 90-second rule or the 90-second reset. Now, we have the capacity to stay angry for a whole lot longer than 90 seconds.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're rethinking the thought, re-stimulating the emotion, re-stimulating the physiological response, and we can stay mad for hours, for days, for decades. We have the power to choose who and how we want to be, moment by moment. It's just cells inside of your brain. Every ability we have because we have cells that are performing that function. And we get to pick and choose which one of those cells we want to run. And the easiest way to figure out what are my choices is to go to my characters and say, what's the choice in this moment of my character 1? What's the choice of my character 2, my 3, or my 4? Which one in this moment do I want to lead with?
Wow. Woo, glowing mind, glowing body, this whole, it's so powerful. And I have a question to ask about that. I'm curious. So the judging part of me is wondering, is there, like, if you were to do a pie chart, do you want to be 90% of your day in character 4? I would think 5% in 3 and the rest in 1 and 2. I don't want to ask too many questions, but not to stack it on, but to me, I think about our world and what's being called for and what we're looking for. And I'm like, oh, we're just having a little character 4 crisis. Like, we need Queen Lotus and Queen Toad and everyone else that, like, we're missing. So I'm curious, like, where would we ideally want it to be? And, I just curious, like, what your feeling is about this world and how can we start to help one another and help ourselves? Because this is like beyond brilliant. I mean, you are that, but like, I've never thought of it in this way. I didn't even, again, the whole, like, we have 2 amygdalas still. I'm like, wait, what? It's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, I think that if I had not been a neuroanatomist, a brain scientist, and lost half my mind, and then had my right brain uninhibited, so I know who she is, and I know what the emotion is of that, and I know what the thinking tissue is of that, and then I had to use my right brain to rebuild my left brain. And by the time my emotions from my past had died, they were gone. That was gone. Abby didn't exist anymore.
Right.
So I had to reboot and gain that part of my brain again, because it is designed to save my life. So now I'm a new Abby, but I had to consciously build Helen because those skill sets were gone. And you have to be a functional human being, which means you have to have a functional left thinking character. You have to do that.
Yeah.
So, and then when Helen came back online as a personality, that's when I realized, oh my gosh, these are the 4 characters, and Helen wants to take over and be the boss of my brain again. And Queen Toad is going, I don't think so. And little Pigpen's going, well, she's no fun. I don't want to do that. Don't let her do that. And it was like, so we negotiated with Helen and said, Helen, we love you. Welcome to the team. But no, we're a democracy and we're going to vote. And no, no, because the left brain has very different values than the right brain. Yeah. The right brain is the collective whole of humanity. The left brain is about me and mine.
Yeah.
And it's the me and mine. Our value structure has been skewed to the left as a society. So it's all about Helen and Abby. It's all about, me and what's right and what's wrong. And I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong. And I'm going to be on that hierarchy and I want to be higher than you. So we're going to compete and it's going to be like dog eat dog. And it's like the world really is.
Yeah.
That we have created.
Yeah.
But then we have these right hemispheres that's saying, but we don't have meaning in our lives and we don't find our meaning and our purpose because that's in the consciousness of our right brain. But we exist in a left brain that says, well, playtime, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, totally.
So one is saying to character 3, I don't value you. Go away. And then the monkey mind of our left brain, and all the negative emotions of little Abby. And then when poor 4 doesn't have a voice because character 4 doesn't speak in language. Character 4 speaks in the consciousness of our body. And if we don't slow down and listen to our breath and our body and slow everything down and get rid of the to-do list and get rid of the just constant barrage of those thoughts, we can't hear our character 4 unless we make space, because it is the space. So that's why if we go to nature and we let ourselves open and we feel full and we focus on expansion and we communicate with the creatures around us and nature, and we allow that part of ourselves to speak, then we can hear it. But we got to let that left brain. So as you were mentioning earlier about meditation, meditation is the tool the left brain is using to quiet itself enough in order to find the rest of the story of who and what we are as a right brain. And there was this beautiful work done by Andy Newberg, and he put Franciscan nuns and monks into a spec machine, and they said, "Go pray or go meditate, and when you get where you're going, tug on this line." And they were expecting to find, the God center light up, but what they found was the left brain quieted.
I got chills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the left brain needs to allow inhibition of itself in order to activate the bigger picture. So this is just, the left brain is laid essentially on top of the consciousness of that character 4. So I see the character 4 as the framework and the ground, and then the other 3 consciousnesses, the consciousness of our emotion of the present, the consciousness of our emotion of the past, future, and our cognitive thinking of the external world are each consciousnesses, and it's like a braid of consciousnesses. And when we know each of those, they're each pure in their own form, but you get to choose, and you can move fluidly throughout. So is the goal to spend, X percentage of time in each of these? To me, the goal is to move fluidly between them at will and at choice. That is human power and freedom.
Woo. Oh my gosh, Dr. Chill. I have chills, Dr. Chill. I can call you Dr. Chill. Chills.
Chill is glowing.
I'm glowing. I'm like, you just took, I'm like, there's a lot of different frameworks out there. And like, I felt, hello, if you're listening, have you ever felt the inner warring and dialogues of like, truthfully, I'm sure many people that are attracted to this podcast and show are really into tuning into your higher self, your best self. And I personally love living there. And it's like, there is the left, we have character 1, we have Helen. And
goodness. Or we're really non-functional. We have to have those skill sets.
You know what I'm thinking, actually, with your experience, you actually experienced what it would have been like without Helen and Abby. Yeah, and I'm even thinking like, this is where that compassion and honoring is important, because there's a piece of me, it's like, I'd like to just be in 4 most of the time. I really just would prefer the A+ lady like Helen to just take a chill pill, please. But honoring, because you did a little bit of life, and it probably wasn't, it may have been fun, it might have been pigpen fun, but it wasn't so functional to do that.
It's absolutely non-functional.
No.
It's chaos. The present moment is chaos. And the left brain is order. And the external world is order. But the beauty of the right brain in the chaos is the chaos makes it resilient, flexible, adaptable, because it's good with all that. It's good with change. Change is the only constant that we have. So we are biologically programmed to be resilient and open and expansive and to function well in the chaos, but the left brain is desperate to create order.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful if we let them balance. If they talk to one another and they
Yeah.
balance. So I firmly believe, I truly believe that based on evolution and
Yeah.
how the mammalian system develops over time, there were reptiles who have essentially our brain stem. And the brain stem is filled with on-off switches. I'm hungry, I eat, I'm not hungry anymore.
Right.
I want to mate, I mate, I don't need to mate anymore. So it's pretty much on-off, right? This is what the reptiles are running around doing. Then all the kinks get worked out of those systems, and then nature says, well, let's create something new, and so it adds emotional system on top of the brainstem. And so now we have emotion. And as soon as we have emotion, now we're warm-blooded and we're mammals. Okay. So the mammalian limbic system has 2 amygdala, 2 hippocampi, and 2 anterior cingulate gyri. So we have 2 emotional bilateral systems. And then over time, the human comes in and says, let's add more thinking tissue on top. So the human now and the thinking tissue grows on top of the emotion of that hemisphere. And it is designed to refine the ability and the function of the tissue below. So the tissue of the emotion in the past of the left brain grows new tissue, which allows temporality to match. Now I have thinking across time. So I had emotion across time, and now I have thinking as a human. On the right side, I have emotion of the present, and then I have thinking to define, to refine the tissue below. So we end up with these 4 groups of cells, but information comes in from the external world and goes through the emotion first, and then up to the thinking. So what that means is we are feeling creatures who think. Many of us think we're thinking creatures who feel, but no, we're feeling creatures who think. And that's why it is critically important that we do not ignore our emotions, and that we address our emotions and we reflect upon them and we help heal that pain, because that pain is like, it will, clog up a pipe, and eventually the pipe's got to go out, spew some way. Yeah. And it might come out in aggression. It might come out in attacking. It might come out in all kinds of delinquent behaviors that are not healthy, or addictive behaviors that are not healthy.
Yeah. I keep coming back to this brain huddle that you talk about. It's so brilliant. It's funny. I do these kinds of dialogues within myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have the names. I'm so excited. And you keep saying, and it's so important that I think, forget we have choice. Yes. And that this is so brilliantly outlined. It's like, and you said this, you said something to the effect of that it's really the left brain on top of character 4. So it's about harmony, and it's about connecting the two. We want Helen and we want Abby. Those are important. We just want to have them in a way I almost feel like the question is this for your highest good based on who you want to be here? Like, is this gonna, and then you ask them. I love this way. Again, I'm going to digest this again and again, because it's so powerful. We get to really choose, and we're not at the mercy, because it can feel, and I'll tell you, I'm sure I'm not the only one. There are times, I have the A+ driven overachiever, and I have the, I just really want to walk in nature and talk to the animals all the time. And for, I think others, it's like, okay, you can negotiate that. It doesn't have to be one or the other. They play together. So this is really, really, really powerful.
So as you're doing that, thank you. As you're doing that, then think, for the evolution of the human brain.
Yeah.
We have these 2 emotional systems and these 2 thinking systems. And the thinking are communicating with the thinking, the emotions are communicating with the emotions, and we're creating a full flow, so that we're fluid in the world, and we can be anything at any time that we want. Yeah. That, I truly believe, is the evolution of humanity based on the anatomy of the brain. And that's why the book, Whole Brain Living, Whole Brain Living, the anatomy of choice, and the 4 characters that drive our life. It's beautiful.
Wow. Dr. Jill, I hope you do not only another TED Talk with this, but just we like got to get this. I just keep coming back to, I think with this past year and all of the anxiety and fear, and it's been quite a year, although the one gift is I've done a lot more nature walks than ever before. I've done a lot more being at home, a lot more of that. I just think what you're teaching, it's like the call to action of what humanity is looking for. It's an upgrade in the way that we're being right now. And I hope, well, we'll start here with this community and podcast, and those listening, please share this, please share Dr. Jill's wisdom, her book. And this is I love that you title it Whole Brain Living, because you're not saying right brain living only. You're not saying, like, it's all of it. And honestly, I think of nature, it's honoring the whole, it's honoring the last thing, it reminded me when you think of, I've read a lot about, I love trees, the idea that wind makes them stronger and the roots go deeper. I kind of feel like even what you were saying before, seeing how we mimic nature, that, those challenges, when we can come from the whole brain, living from this space of really harmony, those challenges can make us, they make us stronger. They make us more resilient.
Absolutely. I look at, I look at the big picture of my life, and all of my life has been guided because I have a brother diagnosed with schizophrenia. So I was fascinated with, how does our brain create our perception of reality? And why does he have hallucination and delusion? And I seem to be able to connect to reality better and have that a character actually be functional. And so the blessing of having my brother who has this incredible delusional system was the beginning of my journey that led me on my path to being a neuroanatomist and studying the brain and teaching and performing research at Harvard. And then imagine the incredible blessing I got when I had that enormous hemorrhage that wiped out my whole left brain. I suddenly fall off the Harvard ladder. I'm a lump of lead drooling in the bed. I'm lucky if I'm alive at all. And it literally takes 8 years for me to recover the function of my left brain and to have this whole journey. And it's my character 4 that just looks at the big picture and says, life is this incredibly beautiful journey for each one of us. And our left brain can come in and say, oh, whoa, poor little Jill, she fell off the Harvard ladder and she's a drooling body in the bed, and everything, just the horrific of the expectation and the judgment. And it's like, I didn't have any of that. All I knew was I did not die that day. And I was so filled with gratitude that I still had a chance at whatever it was I would get back. Didn't matter. I was still alive. And to accept and allow what was to be, and to engage in the behaviors that I needed to engage in to stay out of my own way emotionally, to get plenty of sleep, to eat good foods, and to eventually recover from that trauma that was enormous, and to be able to come full force and come forward clear on what my purpose is. And I truly believe, Julie, that this book is the reason why I came back. This material has the power to upgrade, as you said, who we are as a humanity. And I'm in. I'm in. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it with you and your audience. We are such a beautiful, beautiful people. And this kind of knowingness inside of our own brain, it's a positive, magnificent power that we have. And right now we are screaming in our twos in the world, and we are in our pain and our drama of the external world in a way. We have the power to choose at any moment, hook into that present moment power of our own character 4. And that is who we really are.
Oh my gosh. all I can say is there's just immense beyond gratitude, grateful that you are here, for you and for your resuscitation, for coming, for being alive, for your bringing forth this material, this inspired divine, it feels divinely inspired to me, just listening to you and energetically. And I was like, I'm in with you. I think we're all in. And I thank God for you and what you're teaching. I'm resonating 100%. This is brilliant. And, I love it's digestible. Like I can understand it. And it's really a beautiful way. And I'm just going to encourage everyone to name your characters, like Dr. Jill said, and write in, let us know, what are your names?
People with these outrageous names. And you might name it based on someone you've known, or you might name it based on a nature word, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It just has to. And that's why I didn't name the characters. I've just got them as 1, 2, 3, and 4, because it needs to resonate with your soul, so that when I call on Helen, I know who Helen is. When I call on Queen Toad, I know who she is. And it's like boom, boom, boom. And the conversations they start coming fast and clear. And I can guarantee you now, Julie, every person you look at now, you're going to say, oh yeah, she's in her 2.
Yeah, she's with Randy right now.
She's in her 3 right now. Let's go play, and at the end of each chapter, where I introduce you to each of those 4 characters, I have you ask questions, answer questions. How much time do you spend in this part of you? How well does this part of you get along with the other characters inside of your brain? Give it a name. Who likes this character in you? Who doesn't like this character in you? Really get to know who is that character, and who is my Helen's world. My friends can call me up on the phone and they can instantly tell if I'm being Helen, because Helen is busy, right? She's doing the list. She's doing a million things. She's faxing something here, and she's doing something here, and she's getting the detail from there.
Helen, that's Helen.
That's Helen. That's exactly right. That's Helen. So being able to, so they will say to me, well, hi, Helen, can you call us later this evening? And it's like, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that is so great.
So
oh my God.
Get to know my characters. You get to know their characters. It's beautiful.
So beautiful. Again, there's really no words. My Queen Lotus is here and she wants to just hug you. And I feel like I'm like part of the sisterhood, brotherhood collective. I'm like, we just love you. And goodness, this is just beautiful, beautiful material. I am so grateful. And I'm speaking on behalf of everyone listening, because I can feel it. Like, thank you from all of us for sticking around and for coming back and doing the work to bring yourself back online with left and right, and to really bring forth this incredible works and material. This is very special and frankly, I think needed. It's like right on time. We need this right now. And I knew just from reading ahead and your work, I was like, privileged to be able to share you, honestly. So thank you, Dr. Jill.
It's been a blast. Thank you. Thank you, Queen Lotus. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. Who was your little 3?
Joy.
Oh, Joy. Beautiful. Yeah. Character 2 was
Randy, because
Randy, ran. I love them, and I love them all. And that's the thing, is that when inside of your own head now, when your little Randy shows up, it's like character 1's going to say, are we safe? Do I have to fix anything right now? And then they're going to see, no, you're just, having an issue. And so then character 4 comes in and says, Randy, I got you. I got you. I love you. And then your little Joy is going to say, when you're ready, I'm here to go for a walk or to play or to do something we love to do, or to call a pal who, really resonates with us. I mean, it's like suddenly we can just network our own brain and say, oh my gosh, I get to live the life I really want to live.
Wow. All right. That is just, I'm like mind blown, body. I mean, all 4 of my characters are like, prayer hand. We're like, yes, we just namaste the light. in all of me and all of us. The lights, we should really just say the lights in all of us. It's not one. Honors the
No,
lights.
it's all of them. And even that part of us that's in pain,
Yeah.
thank goodness that little one was willing to step out of the present so we could create a temporal linearity of time. It's beautiful.
So beautiful. Thank you. You are such a beautiful being. this has been one of my most, I always say delicious for me because I love food, delicious and favorite conversations. It's coming from all of me. That's how I read everything. It's delicious.
It's your filter. I filter through the brain. You filter through food.
Yep. That's basically it in a nutshell. This was a strawberry smoothie. Thank you, Dr. Jill.
Love it. Perfect. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah. It's been a joy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate it.